Dragged down by China Construction Bank, HSBC posts quarterly loss. Guangzhou bridge hit by empty ship, 2 cars plunge into water, at least 5 dead. Replacing Chinese cranes, U.S. plans to invest billions in port security. Foreign media exposed the reason why Jintao was escorted out at the 20th National Congress. Sore throat incidence in China raises concerns over epidemic cover-up. It's all covered in today's China Truths. Dragged down by China Construction Bank, HSBC posts quarterly loss. HSBC Holdings announced on Wednesday, February 21, that it experienced its first quarterly net loss in several years in the fourth quarter of 2023, with profits declining by over 80%. The primary reason was a $3 billion impairment loss on HSBC's stake in China Construction Bank, BOCOM. Based in London, HSBC Bank has long earned most of its income in Asia and has been transferring more resources to the region to seize opportunities arising from the rapid rise of the middle class, while other Western banks have scaled back their operations in the area. HSBC also made significant bets on the Chinese market, agreeing last autumn to acquire Citigroup's consumer wealth investment portfolio in China. However, this bet has now had negative consequences. According to a statement released by HSBC on Wednesday, pre-tax profits in the fourth quarter of 2023 fell by more than 80% year-on-year, dropping from $5.05 billion to $1 billion. The banking giant also reported a net loss of $153 million in the fourth quarter of 2023, marking the first quarterly loss since the end of 2019. Primarily due to the $3 billion impairment on its stake in China Construction Bank. The impairment was partly due to the slowdown in the Chinese economy, ultimately affecting the profitability and asset value of China Construction Bank. HSBC holds approximately 19% of the shares in China Construction Bank, one of China's large state-owned banks, an investment that began in 2004. The bank stated that the $3 billion impairment was calculated following an evaluation in December 2023, which included estimates of future cash flows from China Construction Bank. HSBC remains open to further impairments on its stake in China Construction Bank. HSBC leadership stated that they would conduct regular technical analyses and utilize a series of data, including economic growth and interest rates, to determine the value of the equity, and if warranted by the data, further impairments would be made. Although HSBC's full-year pre-tax profit reached $30.35 billion in 2023, the $3 billion impairment on its stake in China Construction Bank cast a shadow over its performance in China. HSBC also set aside $3.4 billion last year for expected credit losses, partly due to its exposure to the troubled real estate sector in China. After announcing its performance on Wednesday, HSBC's stock price listed in Hong Kong fell nearly 4%, while its stock price listed in London fell over 8% in afternoon trading. HSBC is not the only European financial institution affected by the woes of the Chinese real estate sector. In October last year, its competitor Standard Chartered Bank reported $186 million in credit impairment expenses related to Chinese commercial real estate. Guangzhou bridge hit by empty ship, 2 cars plunge into water, at least 5 dead. On February 22, the Lixinsha Bridge in Wangqingsha Town, Nansha District, Guangzhou, was hit by a ship, causing the bridge to collapse. According to a maritime report from Guangzhou, at 5:30 a.m., an empty container ship was traveling from Nanhai, Foshan to Nansha, Guangzhou. While passing through the Hongqi-Lishui Channel, it collided with the pier of the Lixinsha Bridge, causing the bridge deck to break. At noon, the Guangzhou Maritime Search and Rescue Center reported that as of 10 a.m., 2 cars had fallen into the water, and 3 others had fallen onto the ship. 2 people were unharmed, 2 were dead, 1 crew member suffered minor injuries, and 3 were missing. The Search and Rescue Center reported in the afternoon that by around 5 p.m., 3 missing persons had been found dead. According to CCTV, relevant departments revealed that after the bridge collapsed, vehicles fell into the water. Among the submerged vehicles was a bus with only the driver on board at the time. The emergency call report under the New Beijing News revealed that officials in Wangqingsha town disclosed that after the incident, the shipowner involved had been detained. The Lixinsha Bridge is the main transportation route for residents of Sanmen Island. Officials from the village on the island said that currently residents can only travel by boat. After the bridge collapsed this time, it immediately attracted the attention of the mainland network. Netizens questioned the quality of the bridge construction and suggested that responsibility lies with the bridge designers. They criticized the lack of anti-collision measures at the bridge pier and estimated the high cost of repairs. Others recalled a similar incident in Guangzhou, indicating a recurring issue. On June 15, 2007, at 5:10 a.m., a sand-carrying ship in Guangzhou collided with the pier of the Jiujiang Bridge due to poor visibility caused by heavy fog, causing 4 cars on the bridge to fall into the river and resulting in 9 deaths. Replacing Chinese cranes, U.S. plans to invest billions in port security. The Biden administration plans to invest billions of dollars in domestically manufacturing cargo cranes to alleviate concerns that many ports in the United States use cranes manufactured in China, posing a potential threat to national security. A White House news release stated that this action is part of a series of measures taken by the U.S. government on Wednesday, February 21, to improve maritime cybersecurity. These actions include the U.S. Coast Guard issuing directives requiring foreign-manufactured cranes deployed in strategic seaports to meet certain digital security requirements, and President Biden issuing executive orders to establish baseline cybersecurity standards for computer networks at U.S. ports. According to the news release from the White House, the integrated network comprising ports, docks, vessels, waterways, and land connections that make up the United States Maritime Transportation System, MTS, supports economic activity worth $5.4 trillion annually and handles nearly 95% of goods entering the United States. The system relies on digital interconnectivity and provides employment opportunities for over 31 million Americans. However, this complex network both increases freight speed and introduces security vulnerabilities. The White House stated that over the next 5 years, more than $20 billion will be invested in port security, including rebuilding domestic crane production capacity in collaboration with reliable partners. This funding comes from the bipartisan infrastructure bill passed in 2021 and will support the production of cranes by a subsidiary of Mitsui E&S Company, a Japanese corporation. Officials say this will be the first time cranes have been produced domestically in 30 years. The actions of the Biden administration come after an investigation by the Wall Street Journal last year. The investigation showed that large intelligent cranes used in some U.S. ports could pose espionage and sabotage risks. These cranes are manufactured by China's Shanghai Jianhua Heavy Industries Group and account for nearly 80% of the ship-to-shore cranes used in U.S. ports. The Pentagon and some officials believe that these cranes, which seem cheap but are actually Trojan horses. These cranes are equipped with sophisticated sensors that can register and track the origins and destinations of containers. Officials are concerned that the Chinese Communist Party may obtain information about goods entering or leaving the United States, including shipments that support U.S. military operations worldwide. Officials also fear that the software on the cranes could be manipulated by the CCP, hindering U.S. shipping and even temporarily interrupting crane operations. Rear Admiral John Vann, commander of the Coast Guard's Cyber Command, said at a press conference, "By design, these cranes can be controlled, maintained, and programmed remotely. These features could make cranes manufactured by the People's Republic of China, PRC, susceptible to exploitation." Several senior U.S. officials, including FBI Director Christopher Wray, have warned that infiltration by Chinese hackers into critical infrastructure in the United States could threaten American lives. If a conflict occurs in the Taiwan Strait or other hotspot events, Chinese hackers may launch destructive cyber attacks. And Neuberger, Deputy National Security Advisor for Cyber and Emerging Technology in the United States, said, "We believe there is a real strategic risk here. These cranes, because they essentially move large containers in and out of ports, if they were to be encrypted in a criminal attack or rented or operated by an adversary, it could have a real impact on our economic shipping and our military shipping through ports. So far, U.S. officials have refused to disclose whether the CCP has engaged in illicit activities using these cranes. Foreign media exposed the reason why Hu Jintao was escorted out at the 20th National Congress. The Financial Times reported on February 21 that internal struggles within the top echelons of the CCP are rarely reflected or implied in public. Therefore, in 2022, Beijing's authoritarian leaders, Xi Jinping and his predecessor Hu Jintao, staged the most blockbuster communist, internal struggle drama, in front of television cameras worldwide. On the morning of October 22, 2022, an extremely unusual scene occurred at the closing ceremony of the 20th National Congress of the CCP. During the meeting, former CCP General Secretary Hu Jintao, seated on the rostrum, was forcibly persuaded to leave the venue by two staff members. Video footage showed that Hu Jintao was unwilling to leave, and the two sides confronted each other for about half a minute. The Financial Times said that Xi Jinping secured a third term at the Congress, meaning he would become the lifelong leader of the CCP. But something was amiss. During the closing ceremony, Hu Jintao reached for a red folder in front of him. Another CCP official snatched the folder from him. Xi Jinping then gestured to a security guard, who escorted Hu Jintao out of the hall. As he left, Hu Jintao patted the shoulder of his former disciple and premier, Li Keqiang, but Li only offered the simplest acknowledgement, a slight nod. When Hu Jintao was being ushered out, none of the high-ranking officials sitting in the front row turned around to show concern. They looked straight ahead, seemingly ignoring Hu's humiliation. Reports pointed out that two respected sinologists from the School of Oriental and African Studies, University of London, Steve Sang and Olivia Chung, analyzed this chilling event in their new book The Political Thought of Xi Jinping. The analysis stated, in essence, Xi Jinping's vision is to build a strong state of all people united under the party he leads, to achieve the ambition of China as the center of the world in history. Therefore, Xi Jinping's ultimate goal is one country, one nation, one ideology, one party, one leader. Anything or anyone that obstructs, as Hu Jintao did that day, will be dealt with. Sang and Chung indicated that Hu Jintao was prevented from opening the red folder because the documents inside would reveal that his protege, Hu Chunhua, failed to ascend to the Politburo. Xi Jinping's move aimed to diminish the power base of his predecessor. Sore throat incidence in China raises concerns over epidemic cover-up. During the New Year period, the COVID-19 epidemic in China surged again, and high incidence of sore throat became a hot topic on social media. However, official media made no mention of the COVID-19 epidemic, instead suggesting that sore throat could be acute epiglottitis. The official publication Lifeweek with official background mentioned that sore throat could possibly be due to acute epiglottitis, warning that having this disease could instantly close the throat, causing suffocation. However, many mainland netizens question the claim of acute epiglottitis, believing that the probability of having it is very low, and the symptoms of high incidence of sore throat are very similar to those of COVID-19 infection, so the possibility of COVID-19 infection should be considered first. During the Chinese New Year period, hospitals in many parts of China were overcrowded, with many people experiencing recurrent fevers and persistent coughs. Recently, the situation of multiple hospitals in Guangzhou, Zhejiang Province, being crowded with respiratory patients has attracted attention. As previously reported, Guangzhou official media reported that according to the data from the emergency departments of Guangzhou Medical University First Hospital, Municipal Central Hospital, Municipal People's Hospital, and Municipal Traditional Chinese and Western Medicine Hospital, these four hospitals received about 30,000 visits from New Year's Eve to the 8th day of the first lunar month, February 9th to 17th, with respiratory infections being the main condition, and the patients in the emergency room were mainly respiratory system patients with lung infections. Due to the CCP's habit of covering up the truth of the epidemic, the actual situation may be even more severe. A doctor at the hospital said that during the New Year period, the emergency rescue room of the first hospital was crowded, and the number of patients admitted to the emergency room reached the peak of the number of patients that the rescue area could accommodate, and all the places where beds could be added were added. Mr. Yang from Taizhou, Zhejiang Province, told NTD-TV on February 21 that there has been a recent outbreak of the local epidemic, with a large increase in the number of deaths, including middle-aged and elderly people, as well as young people. Mr. Yang said, "There are many people in the hospital, probably because of the new coronavirus. There are many more deaths this year, about twice as many as usual. I heard that our crematorium is much busier than usual. There are heart attacks and strokes." Mr. Chen from Ningbo, Zhejiang Province, said, "There are too many people with colds these days, both adults and children, and it seems to be the new variant of the coronavirus. Yesterday I met someone who said he had been getting injections for several days and still hadn't recovered, coughing every day. We basically don't go out, and if we do, it's because we're afraid of getting infected." Mr. Ren from Hangzhou, Zhejiang Province, said, "The hospital is full, and it takes almost 2 hours to see a doctor. Some have COVID-19, some have avian flu, it's all unclear. They're all respiratory problems." In fact, the epidemic in China has been continuous. On the eve of the new year, officials from the CCP Health Commission openly admitted at a press conference on February 4 that the JN.1 variant of the new coronavirus is spreading in various parts of China. Due to the increase in population mobility and crowd gatherings before and after the new year, it is expected that the COVID-19 epidemic will surge again in February. However, after the CCP announced the victory against the epidemic, hospitals no longer conducted extensive testing for COVID-19, and officials used terms such as influenza and mycoplasma pneumonia to confuse the public and downplay the epidemic. Don't forget to leave a comment in the section below to share your opinions on today's topic with us. Make sure to like and subscribe to see more interesting topics from China Truths.